Hey guys, how you doing? This is Mike McCormick with Advanced Criminology here in Owings Mills, Maryland. And today's discussion will surround the shooting of Botham Jean. As you guys, probably everyone in the country has heard, that this particular young man, African-American man, was in his own home, and he was shot by a Dallas police officer when she got off. Apparently they lived in the same apartment complex. He lived on one floor and she lived above him in another apartment. This occurred on September 6th around 10 p.m. according to all Dallas news reports. A lot of this information I'm giving you is from Dallas news reports. And so today being the 18th, I decided to wait about 1 week before I was going to report on this particular story, because it struck me as kind of unbelievable, the story that the young police officer, female police officer, had given to authorities after the shooting. There are several people in this particular case, the scenario here, particularly the witnesses. Now I'm going to take you back again just briefly, you guys who are new to the channel, who don't know me. I've spent 10 years on the Baltimore City Police Department, the 8th largest police department in the country. Worked in narcotic investigations for about 3 years of that time. I've also attended a couple universities where I've gotten my master's degree in criminal justice. I've also taught classes time to time at local universities here in Baltimore as well. So oftentimes when you come to my channel, I'm going to give you a couple perspectives. One, because I was on the department and have a good working knowledge of how things go from A to Z in the police departments. I can also discuss administrative level, top level issues as they relate to decisions made by commissioners of police departments. And I'm also going to give it to you from an academic perspective as well. So that's when I come to you, that's what I talk about, how I discuss things. Most of you who know that know that's what I pretty much say on a regular basis. And then after we do the video, I ask everyone to respond with their comments. Because again, this is a weird case. I'm just going to tell you. The accounts just don't add up from the officer. And I'll tell you why. Well, for one, we all have made mistakes in terms of whether or not we've driven past some place where, you know, we didn't know that's where it was or where we were going. We've made certain mistakes when it comes to being lost, okay? Very few of us make this kind of mistake where we go to our own apartment building, and in this particular case, there are no regular keys that most of us have to get indoors. These apartments are fairly new, I would imagine, because they have a key code service set up, where you take, just like if you go to a hotel room, and you take the individual key card that they give you at the front desk. Well, these apartments operate the same way. So you get a key card and you place the key card in the top of the door, and the door clicks open, you go into your apartment. So what is shocking to me is that the officer reported initially that as she got there, she saw the door ajar, and she called out a couple of times for the individual to, you know, show his hands or whatever the case may be. Now, this was, according to the officer, place was dark. So all she saw was a dark silhouette. And apparently because the individual didn't comply, she subsequently shot him twice in the chest. That's her side of the story. This is the witnesses. Now, remind you, this happened at 10 o'clock at night. Meaning that in the apartment complex, because I've lived in the major apartment complexes downtown Baltimore, 10 o'clock at night, particularly in exclusive apartments, it's quiet. It's very quiet in exclusive apartments at 10 o'clock at night. So in hallways, you can hear doors shutting. You can hear next door neighbors if they're, you know, talking loudly or whatever, or TV playing or music playing. So the witnesses say that the officer banged on this young man's door a couple of times, demanding to be let in. So once the witnesses said that, that told me, okay, well, if somebody says those statements to an individual behind a closed door, then that officer must know that individual. Or you must know, or it could be me or anyone. I must know that person to actually go and knock on that door and say, okay, let me in. And not just knock on it, bang on it, according to the witnesses. Now, because I wasn't there, you weren't there, we got to play devil's advocate as to how common sense comes into play. I want to forget just a second, because there's been a lot of things out there in social media because she was white and he was black. I'm going to forget all that race stuff just for a second here, and let's just use common sense. without putting the race involved in the case just yet. You come to a door, you bang on the door loudly, and that person finally opens the door from the inside of the door, or they leave it ajar once you bang, basically telling you, well, I've already opened it, you can come in. That person, according to the witnesses' statements, also the fire department, that person is in their underwear. He wasn't dressed, okay? It's in his underwear. So I must feel real comfortable when I answer my door at 10 o'clock at night in my underwear to believe that that person on the other side of that door is someone who I know. Other than that, I would be dressed or clothed in a conspicuous way, so that, you know, I'm not showing myself when I answer the door. So I'm looking at this case from a common sense point of view. The witnesses, I believe, because why would the witnesses lie? They, you know, if they heard somebody banging on the door, they heard somebody banging on the door. One witness also said, and this kind of sold it for me, is that the last words that the young man mentioned were, "Why would you do that?" Okay, well, why would you do that to me means that I know you. I must know you. Because I'm not going to say that to a stranger as to why would you do that after they shoot me twice. So in my mind, the officer's accounts just don't add up. And unfortunately, you know, the gentleman's not here anymore. The young man's not here anymore. And this young man had a great career from what I understood the news accounts to report. You know, graduate from University of Arkansas, worked for a top Fortune 500 company as an accountant. And he was pretty, you know, involved in church activities and as a singer and things like that. So what I do find, and matter of fact, I don't find it hard to believe. Some people are saying on social media and other reports that the family has come out and said, well, we don't believe that our son had an affair with this individual, else because we would know. Well, Mom, Dad, I will tell you that people who want to keep affairs secret from family have no problem doing so. How many times have you heard where a family said, I never knew my son was dating her. I never knew my daughter was dating him. Or I never knew they had friends like that. It happens every day, all day. And it is naive for the mom to take the position that just because she never met this particular individual does not mean that they did not have a casual acquaintance with one another. Keep in mind, they lived in the same apartment building. She lived one floor above, he lived one floor below. So it's not too far-fetched to say that there might have been a casual relationship. We don't know whether it was intimate or not. I'm just speculating. So I don't want you guys to get crazy on social media when you send me back comments that, well, Mike, you know, you're out of your mind. You know, you're making these statements. I'm just making the statements in generalizations. I'm looking at all the possibilities because the bottom line is this. Officer Guyger could be telling the truth that she went to the house and she saw the door ajar. She thought it was her apartment, made that mistake, and in an instant she reacted and shot and killed this man. That would be fine, but the problem is that the witnesses' accounts refute everything this woman's talking about. So who's to be believed? What do we believe, witnesses, or do we believe Officer Guyger, who's facing, I will tell you right now, if the grand jury decides to indict her for murder, it is because the Dallas, Texas Rangers and the State's Attorney's Office in Dallas have now found out more information regarding the relationship between the victim and this particular officer. So I'm gonna keep it short. You got any comments to make on this particular issue? Quite naturally, you know, here I answer and respond to all comments. My name is Mike McCormick. I'm with Advanced Criminology here in Owings Mills, Maryland. Thank you.